Stay dandy, baby. Okay guys, confession time. It's time for me to finally admit that Inuyasha, the classic anime and manga series, kind of kicks ass. When it comes to gateway anime series, none come more classic than Inuyasha, a series which blew me away when it first premiered back on Toonami's Adult Swim programming in the early 2000s. It was one of those anime series that really got me back into the genre. I mean, growing up as a kid in the 90s, the only sort of anime that I was exposed to at the time was stuff like Dragon Ball Z or Pokemon, but this basically allowed me to discover a brand new world of anime and showed me that the genre can explode into various different directions. And with the impending release of its sequel series Yashahime, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experiences with Inuyasha. So for those who aren't in the know, Inuyasha, otherwise known as Inuyasha: A Feudal Fairy Tale, is a manga and anime series which was written and illustrated by classic manga artist Rumiko Takahashi. You may have heard of her. She's created some pretty classic series like Urusei Yatsura, as well as Ranma 1/2. But without a shadow of a doubt, her most revered work is none other than Inuyasha. It also happens to be her longest work, and arguably one of the most popular anime of all time. Watching Inuyasha for the very first time was something of a transformative experience. Like I said, I'd really only been exposed to stuff like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z, but thanks to Cartoon Network, Toonami, and their Adult Swim programming block, I've been exposed to shows like Gundam, Cowboy Bebop, and Yu Yu Hakusho. And in August of 2002, I saw the very first airing of the first episode of Inuyasha. And I have to say that after watching the first episode, I had to ask myself, what the fuck was that? I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't expecting something this weird and this outlandish, not to mention something that was so deeply connected to Japanese culture, something that I had no personal connection with. And even after watching the first episode and being incredibly confused by the overall genre and storytelling and weirdness, I found myself actually getting kind of sucked into the story and wanting to know what was going to happen next. I distinctly remember watching the show with a good friend, and after it aired, we just sort of looked at each other like, what was that? What is this show? And why do I want to see what's going to happen next? See, that's the power of Inuyasha. The fact is, it's one of those series that sort of sucks you in with its amazing characters and its beautiful lore and backdrop. So let me give you just sort of a quick rundown of what the entire show is all about. I didn't realize it at the time, but Inuyasha was sort of a pioneer in the isekai genre, which is essentially all about a regular person being transported to another world. In this case, it's all about high school girl Kagome Higurashi, who is suddenly transported to an ancient demon-filled Japan, where she teams up with a half-human, half-demon named Inuyasha. Together, she meets brand new friends, such as Shippo, an annoying little fox demon. They also come across Moroku, a monk who also has a tendency to basically sexually harass any woman he runs into. And then of course there's my personal favorite, Songo, who is a demon slayer. And all I can really say about Songo is, look at her freaking giant boomerang. This kicks all sorts of ass. It defies all logic how she throws it, but whatever. Not to mention she also has a little cat by the name of Kirara, which has the ability to essentially transform into a freaking giant destructive Pokemon. The main conflict of the show is that they're actually dealing with another evil half-demon who goes by the name of Naraku, who not only framed Inuyasha in his past as well as his lover, but is also going after an ancient jewel known as the Shikon Jewel, which basically is a MacGuffin. A MacGuffin in the sense that it's actually an object that Kagome and her friends are going to have to try and find throughout the series. This was the Dragon Ball link to me. It's what sort of really got me into the show, is knowing that these characters are going to have to go on a journey to find these mystical objects, and of course along the way they're going to meet brand new friends and enemies, and there's going to be a lot of conflict. But I didn't want to admit it at the time, but one of my favorite things about the story was the love aspect. Yeah, no joke, that's actually what got me watching the series just about every week. Getting to see how far the relationship between Kagome and Inuyasha would actually go, as it really was a love story set in time. Pretty much they played with the whole will they, won't they throughout the entire duration of the series, and I should mention that there actually are two distinctive Inuyasha anime adaptations. There's the original 167 episode series, which is filled to the absolute absolute brim with filler of all kind, but still pretty entertaining nonetheless. And then finally, years later, they gave us the final portions of the story, Inuyasha the Final Act, which moves way quicker, has better production value, and is honestly a pretty solid conclusion to the entire series. I didn't even mention some of the amazing side characters that appear throughout the entire show, such as Inuyasha's brother, Sesshomaru. This guy is so badass he could practically get his very own show, and what I really love about him is that he's not exactly a bad guy, he's not exactly a good guy. He has his very own motives for wanting to defeat Naraku as well. In fact, Naraku actually ends up being one of the more intriguing villains that I have ever seen, as his ability to manipulate practically everyone in the series makes him a tremendous amount of enemies, so pretty much everybody wants to kill this guy. As for the main characters themselves, they're all pretty intriguing in their own way. Kagome is essentially sort of like an Avatar-esque character for us, the viewer, as we're getting to witness this world through her eyes for the very first time. But the biggest aspect of her character is the relationship that she forms with Inuyasha. That and the fact that she's actually the reincarnation of a character by the name of Kikyo, who just so happens to be the former lover of Inuyasha. And in the past, well, things didn't go too well between these two characters. One of the biggest aspects and more emotional moments of the entire series is the fact that in the past, Inuyasha was actually betrayed by his lover Kikyo, but it turns out that that's not actually the case. You see, at the very beginning, we get to see that they were very much in a relationship. That is until one day, Kikyo decided that she was going to kill Inuyasha. So she basically hit him with a magical arrow which pinned him to a tree for hundreds of years. It actually turns out that this is all a convoluted plot which has been cooked up by Naraku in order to obtain the magical Shikon Jewel MacGuffin, and thus when Kagome comes to the past, Inuyasha is very confused, as he sees a lot of Kikyo in her, but at the same time, she's clearly a different character, and throughout most of the series, he has to come to terms with the fact that he's no longer in love with Kikyo, and he's now falling in love with Kagome. Thematically speaking, a lot of the show has to do with confronting the past, but looking to the future. That's what's really remarkable about the show and seeing the growth of all of the characters, Inuyasha in particular, who at the beginning of the show is kind of a douchebag. A lovable douchebag, but a douchebag nonetheless. I have to admit, Inuyasha, while he is kind of a cool character, rubbed me the wrong way at the beginning of the series, but as it goes on and he starts to warm up to Kagome and all of her friends, he becomes instantly more likable. This combined with the other characters who join the group, who all seem to have some sort of grudge against Naraku, really adds a nice element to the show. Shippo mostly is played for laughs, but honestly, it's that type of thing that you need in a series like this. Things can get intense with constantly being attacked by giant monsters and being betrayed by Naraku, but I really think it's Moroku and Sango who really bring the entire group together, because just like Inuyasha and Kagome, they have a massive grudge against this character who has completely ruined their lives, with Moroku having this weird thing on his hand which is known as a wind tunnel. While it seems like a really cool weapon at first, basically allowing him to create a massive tornado in his hand that can suck up any enemy or demon, it slowly is taking over his body, and the only way to stop this is to defeat Naraku. And then we have Sango, who probably has, I believe, the most tragic story as all, as she comes from a family of demon slayers who are all murdered by Naraku, including her brother, who is resurrected as a zombie-like warrior by Naraku, who she constantly has to battle against through the course of the entire series, trying to make the big decision. Does she save her brother, or does she simply accept his death? Ultimately, it's the conflict with Naraku that truly makes the entire series. And yes, while it does certainly take its time in actually getting to this conflict, and Naraku goes through multiple deaths and transformations of the series, really this is an instance where I have to say, it's all about the journey and not necessarily the destination. And that's no more truer than in the future of the series, because Inuyasha is a show that I honestly thought was going to have some true finality to it. I didn't think there was going to be another story to tell, when suddenly this year they make the big announcement that there's actually going to be an anime sequel to it called Yashahime. And that's really the whole point of this video today, is I'm getting really hyped for the impending release of that brand new show, and I wanted to sort of just talk a little bit about Inuyasha and what it meant to me when I was watching it for the very first time. And to be honest, it still holds a very special place in my heart. It's what exposed me to a number of different genres of anime, and it let me realize that I have to let my guard down sometimes if there's something something that I'm going to want to enjoy. Inuyasha was a series that at first I didn't think I was going to dig at all, but I found myself getting really invested in its characters and its worlds and the adventures that they were going on. Inuyasha is also one of the very first series that I actually started collecting on DVD, and I still have it in my collection, and I love looking at it on my shelf. I love busting out the box sets every once in a while and checking out some of my favorite episodes and bringing back those classic memories of staying up on Saturday nights late to watch a brand new episode of Inuyasha, of watching these characters grow, go on adventures, fight demons, form relationships with one another, and ultimately try to take down an ancient, tainted evil. It was classic, to say the least. It was certainly a feudal fairy tale. It's Inuyasha. The fact of the matter is, Inuyasha is an anime classic, and you owe it to yourself to check it out if you're even mildly interested in anime at all. And as for the future of Yashahime, well, you can bet your ass I'm gonna be there on day one to watch this brand new story and to see this brand new generation of characters, and hopefully they're going to expand a lot more on it and it'll carry a lot of the same energy as the original series. The fact of the matter is, Inuyasha for me was a watershed anime. It brought me into the fold. It's what got me so interested in this amazing medium. And really, I just wanted to share my love of that with you. And most importantly, I want to get your thoughts on Inuyasha. Did you guys actually grow up watching this anime series? Were you exposed to it later on? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you have any favorite characters, story arcs? And are you excited for the big sequel that's coming out, Yashahime? Make sure to sound off in the comment section below and tell me why or why not. So there it is, guys. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one, as well as anime reviews. Like I said, I will be reviewing Yashahime, so make sure to stay tuned for all of that. And if you did like this video, use your freaking giant Tetsaiga or superpowered weapon and hit that like button. It helps out these videos so much. I also want to thank all of my patrons who've been checking out my Patreon page. You guys are awesome, making donations every single month, giving me feedback on all of my videos. Remember, first-time donators, I will review an anime series of your choice, as well as adding your name to this list of super awesome people. So thank you all for watching this video. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby. 風の傷